fermentation, movies and inebriation with films and fermentation, comedy mixed with taste elevation. Films and fermentation with Leo, Batman, and Mike.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Films and Fermentation. Tonight is the night we celebrate episode 200. That is right, 200 episodes. Wrong button. They are really hard to see. Here we go. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast, the most professional podcast on the airwaves, folks. Number one pop culture podcast on Good Pods. And I learned today that the Underground Podcast Promotions, which is a group on X, has nominated us for July's Podcast of the Month. We are in a tournament with a number of other podcasts to see who will be number one. Right now, in the first round voting, we are leading a podcast called The Game Show Review or Gamer Review or something like that. We are leading them by a 67% to 33% margin right now. So if you're listening, please vote for Films and Fermentation for the Underground Promotions Best Podcast for July. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
And for the 200th time in the last 3 years, we're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. Welcome to Films and Fermentation's 200th episode spectacular. I have a lot of time on my hands.
I was to say, what did we do, Mystery Men?
We did like an obscure comic book episode, and that's where that came from. And that's our faces on the Mystery Men. We changed a lot over the years if you look at all those pictures.
Yeah,
especially the Terminator one where Kevin looks like Coach Beard from That's right, 200 episodes of drinks, debates, and questionable cinematic opinions. Tonight we're carving out our Mount Rushmore of movies from the Mount Rushmore of directors, because clearly we enjoy making things complicated. We got a live audience chat going, so grab a celebratory drink, chisel your opinions in stone, and get ready for the most monumentally fermented film discussion yet. It's history in the making. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. Find all of our social media and podcast links. I would love to do another mailbag episode sometime in the future. I had a lot of fun with that episode last week. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family. You can watch us on the Podnation Media Network on Roku, on YouTube, and on Rumble, or visit Substack to subscribe to our official newsletter. We're an independent podcast, which means we are listener-supported, so please consider joining our Patreon for as little as $1 a month to receive members-only content. That's right, for a $1 donation, we promise to make 200 more episodes.
Also, we promise not to pull our shorts off and have a thong on like Kelsey.
I'm not making that promise. Go to patreon.com /films and fermentation or purchase our merch at teespring.com or text us at 904-867-4466. What are we drinking tonight for this special episode, gentlemen? Let's see. Mike went last week first, so Kev, why don't you go first this week?
Sure. I am embarking on a Cayman Jack Mexican Sunrise, which is essentially a canned margarita with orange juice and agave nectar. It is 5.8% alcohol by volume, and these are quite refreshing over the summer. I'll chase that with a Sam Adams American Light Lager.
All right. Mike, what do you got going on?
Well, I went to Old Reliable for the refreshing summer alcohol. I went with Linen Kugel's Summer Shanty.
Nice.
4.2% alcohol by volume. Could never go wrong with a Summer Shanty.
All right. So, because I am a glutton for punishment, I went back and listened to our very first episode ever.
Oh, God.
I thought 200 episodes in, I should go back and listen to the original, see what we were drinking that night, and see if I could replicate the environment. That night, Mike was drinking I believe, a Devil's Backbone Orange Smash. Kevin was drinking a Hershey's Yingling Porter. And I was drinking a Fruit Punch hard cider from Warhorse Brewery in New York. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those things right now. So I went.
Want me to go get it?
I went a different route. I'm going Old Smokies Mountain Java Coffee Moonshine.
Nice.
Two of my favorite things: alcohol and coffee, all in one. I should be feeling pretty good by the end of this episode.
On the rocks?
On the rocks. Yep, straight up, baby. All right. So we have a lot going on in film history this week. It looks like this is a real week for James Bond films.
Yes, it was.
Let's hit the theme, Mike. It's 200 episodes. You should know that by now.
Yeah, well, you know.
This week in film history with Mike. This week in film history with Mike.
In 1951, the first color TV broadcast, Arthur Godfrey hosts a musical variety special titled Premiere from CBS New York to a network of 5 East Coast cities.
5 whole cities. Holy shit.
Color.
In color. In
So it didn't help that everybody that could watch it had black and white TVs, but you know.
What do we got next here, sir?
1973, Live and Let Die, the 8th James Bond film, first to star Roger Moore, also starring James Seymour, first released in the U.S.
All right. It's the first of the James Bond facts we have this week. Wait, when I read the next one earlier, I got confused. I thought it was a supernatural fact, like the TV show Supernatural. And then I read it further, and I was, I'm wrong.
1976 supernatural horror film The Omen, starring Gregory Peck and Lee Remick, premieres in the U.S.
I like this movie. If you'd like to hear my opinion of The Omen, I did a mini pod retro review of that ways back. You can check it out on our Spotify, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Next one, sir.
1979 Moonraker, the 11th James Bond film starring Roger Moore, premieres in London.
Now, as the Bond expert, Mike, I got to ask you, is this the one where Jaws becomes a good guy?
Yes. This is where they go into space in a shuttle.
On a moon.
He becomes a good guy. Yes.
Yeah, it's the only thing I remember about this film is that it's on the moon and Jaws becomes a good guy.
He falls in love with this little nerdy girl who isn't physically purpose, so they were going to get her killed.
I remember it, yeah.
Yes. In 1981, For Your Eyes Only, 12th James Bond film starring Roger Moore and the first directed by John Glenn, premieres in London.
All right. I feel like we talked about this one recently. I don't remember why.
1981, Stripes, American military comedy film, directed and produced by Ivan Reitman, starring Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, and John Candy, premieres.
I got a hot take on this one. Do you prefer Stripes or Spies Like Us? Personally, and I know it's an unpopular opinion, I prefer Spies Like Us.
I think I prefer stripes.
Yeah, I think most people will probably choose stripes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like stripes. I'm not knocking it. I just have like a weird soft spot in my heart for spies like us for some reason. All right. Speaking of good movies,
And 1982 science fiction film Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer, is released.
like tears in the rain. We ever do a best monologue episode, that's definitely on the list.
Yeah.
Patty's death at the end. Next one, sir.
1986 Jim Henson fantasy film Labyrinth, written by Terry Jones and starring David Bowie and David Bowie's crotch and Jennifer Connelly, is released in the U.S.
David Bowie's crotch just missed being nominated for Best Supporting Actor that year. Next one, sir.
Since this director is on my Rushmore, we're going to talk about the 1989 film Batman. Premieres, directed by Tim Burton and starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. You like to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Oh, he says that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in a little bit when we get to Tim Burton. I'm fairly certain one of you two have that on your Mount Rushmore. Next one, sir.
In 2006, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, directed by Gore Verbinski, starring Johnny Depp, Keira Knightley, and Orlando Bloom, premieres in Disneyland, becomes the first film to gross over $1 billion.
Billion.
Yes, again, we talked a lot about Pirates a few episodes back and how we all feel like the first one's really the only one that's worth it. Next one, sir.
Talking about directors on Kevin's list. 2009 Michael Bay film Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is released.
Give me a good sunset with some helicopters and some smoke blowing any day of the week.
I was going to say, if Pirates of the Caribbean first movie is the only one worth it, the Transformer films, none of them are worth it.
No. I was ready for comments about me saying it was one of Kevin's Mount Rushmore directors.
I feel like we should do that. Should be April Fool's next year as we do a Michael Bay episode.
Oh, ouch! In 2010, the Twilight Saga Eclipse, based on the books by Stephanie Meyer, directed by David Slade, starring Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, premieres in L.A.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It happened.
Yeah, it happened.
That was a movie. People made it.
Leo watched it.
There was stuff. Did I watch that one? No. I watched the first one and couldn't get over the fact that the vampires were playing baseball and never watched another one.
And they were sparkly?
And they were, well, the sparkly thing, whatever, you know. That was a joke that's been used so much I didn't really give a shit about it. It was more the vampires playing baseball that really like screwed with me. All right.
So vampires don't play baseball; they play hockey.
Cold, and it's on the ice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have one little piece of beer news. Looks like tonight. So let's get to that.
Kevin's here, he's here for beer. He's got news, it's beer, there's a Kevin.
Gentlemen, I'm not sure if you're a fan, like I am, of King of the Hill, a Mike Judge production.
Mm-hmm.
They are moving into their 14th season revival of King of the Hill on Hulu. And a San Antonio, Texas-based brewery is about to bring the show's fictional Alamo beer to life. According to the Express News, San Antonio's Alamo Beer Company is partnering with Hulu to make it all happen before the season 14 premiere on August 4th. It used to be that for years only Hank, Dale, Bill, and Boomhauer got to enjoy their good old Alamo beer from the comfort of their grassy sidewalk.
Yeah, I know.
In front of their-
I'm going down Beard, is it? God
God
and
damn
in
it,
front of the
Bobby.
wood fence. What's that?
God damn it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby. Propane's life. But now you'll be able to crack one open, and much sooner if you reside in Texas. Just stay away from the sidewalk. It's real. Alamo Beer Company founder Eugene Seymour told the Express News, "We're just trying to finalize the actual date. It will be released. In fact, the outlet reports that some lucky enough to attend the revival's sneak peek in May at the ATX TV Festival in Austin got to enjoy a easily chuggable beer. The new Alamo beer should hit shelves in July or August. But if you're lucky and if you live in Texas, Seymour told the Express News that the Alamo beer will first hit their shelves in Texas before it's distributed nationally. Mike Judge's King of the Hill, which aired a whopping 13 seasons on Fox from 97 to 2010, and it is based on the fictional Texas suburb, will have a 10-episode reboot on Hulu. According to the streaming giant, the season 14 revival picks up several years after we last saw the Hill family. Hank and Peggy Hill are now retired and returned to a changed Arlene after years of working in Saudi Arabia, and Bobby is 21 and living his best life while navigating adulthood as a chef in Dallas. So if you're into King of the Hill and you have Hulu, check its revival on August 4th. And keep your eyes open for Alamo beer hitting shelves shortly.
Have any of you like I saw a little clip of King of the Hill, the revival on YouTube, and it was a little weird to see Bobby looking like older. But other than that, like I haven't really seen much else from the show. Just I know they had their own beer.
I didn't know either. But I guess it's like Duff beer, which you can get in Universal Studios.
Tough man.
Duff
All right, Mike, you have any must-try beer or craft destinations for us this evening?
I do. This one's a dark beer. It is called A La Kurk Porter from Estonia. First brewed in 1999, has an ABV of 6.5. The A La Kurk Porter is a bold and flavorful interpretation of the classic Baltic porter style, pouring a deep, dark brown with a full body presence. This beer offers an inviting aroma of roasted malt and rich, layered taste profile. The dominant notes are of dark roasted malt, are complemented by subtle nuances of black bread, caramel, and dried fruit, evolving into a warm finish with a dark chocolate, licorice, and a hint of syrup. Mildly hopped, it allows the toasted malt character to shine, evoking coffee, dark chocolate, and spicy undertones. Hints of plum and a touch of spice round out the complexity, delivering a smooth and satisfying experience. This porter exemplifies the style's robust heritage, blending strength and refinement in every sip.
All right. We are going to take a quick break to hear some words from the Podnation Media Network, and then we'll be back with our Mount Rushmore of Mount Rushmore Awards. Hey, movie lovers, this is Leo.
Mike.
And Kevin from Films and Fermentation.
If you love comedy, movies, and a good drink in hand, then you need to check out the Podnation Media Network.
It's home to a variety of amazing podcasts covering everything from pulp culture to history and, of course, movies like ours.
And the best part, Podnation Media Network is featured on Roku, so you can stream your favorite podcasts anytime.
Alongside Films and Fermentation, you'll find other fantastic shows like the KJ&A podcast, The Undiscovered Entrepreneur, Real Sharks, and so many more.
So grab a drink, press play, and join the fun with Podnation Media Network.
Because everything's better with a little comedy, movies, and booze.
Learn more by going to linktree.com/PodNationPods. Got a listener finally. We got here he is, Sad Boy. He says, hey, Sad Boy is one of our Reddit fans.
Hey.
Left us a couple of messages on Reddit a few times. We read one of his messages on the mailbag episode last week. And I said, are you the Sad Boy from Reddit? And he said, that's me.
Nice to have you, Sad Boy.
Nice to have you there. So thanks for listening. Stay with us. We're going to be talking now about our main segment. We're going to be looking at our Mount Rushmore of Mount Rushmores back all the way back in episode 50. We did a Mount Rushmore of directors, actors, and movies. And we decided for our 200th episode tonight, we would take a look at the 4 directors that each of us chose and come up with a Mount Rushmore of movies for the directors themselves. So just to recap, my directors were Martin Scorsese, John Ford, Steven Spielberg, and John Carpenter. Mike's were Tim Burton, John Ford, Martin Scorsese, and Steven Spielberg. And Kevin's were Tim Burton, Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, and David Fincher. So it looks like most of us had some crossover here and there. Spielberg was the only one that had a 3-time crossover. And Kevin is the only one who had 2 originals on his list compared to Mike and I. So let's start then. I think I want to start with Kevin because I'd like to hear your Christopher Nolan Mount Rushmore. I'm really kind of curious about that one. Yeah.
So I go through all 4, correct? Okay.
Yes, all 4. And
we're going to start with Nolan's earliest. I don't know if it's his absolute earliest. I don't think it is, but one of his earlier movies that got him recognized, which was Memento.
Memento, I would put that on there.
Yeah. Starring, I was about to say Guy Ritchie. I think it's Guy Pearce, right?
Guy Pearce. Guy Ritchie is the director.
Guy Pearce, Trinity from Trinity and Cypher from The Matrix, which their names are escaping me. Joe
Pantoliano, Carrie-Anne Moss.
Carrie-Anne Moss. There you go.
Moss, yes.
The interest of this movie, the thing that really captivates you is the idea of somebody having short-term memory loss after an attack and trying to solve the mystery by taking Polaroids and reminding himself, keeping things on him, tattooing his body with clues and hints as to information that he's found about his wife's killer and the attack. And it kind of is released backwards. You know, you kind of go through the movie finding out what was the step before that made him write that down, what happened previously. So that's the first one. Next to that, I mean, I would love to put the entire trilogy up here, but you know, there's just too many other good movies.
Before you name the next one, I'm gonna pop Sad Boy's comment up.
There you go. You guessed it, Sad Boy. Yes, The Dark Knight. Dark Knight, one of the best versions of the Joker that I've ever seen. One of the more interesting storylines where, you know, Harvey Dent is introduced and you get to see his play. I know it's a bit of a stretch from the character from the comics and from the animated series, but everything done so super well, you know. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'd say of all Batman movies in general, and this is tough because I'm going to talk about another one later today. This is possibly my favorite, absolute favorite version.
I agree. At least, definitely with the Joker. What you know, I never thought I would have said that after Jack Nicholson, but I definitely think Heath Ledger is number 1 right now on the list.
Why so serious?
Right. And at some point, we should probably do like a Joker bracket episode where we compare all the Jokers.
And put into the crazy thinking machine early. But the special effects they used on Harvey Dent, I mean, to make that look as quote unquote real, but like, as real as it could look, and the whole there were no prosthetics. I think it was all CGI.
I saw a meme that made me laugh yesterday when it was like 107 degrees. Somebody posted to me, it was Harvey Dent laying in bed, and it says, "I stepped outside today." Mike knows the feeling. He was on a boat.
He was on a boat.
On a boat for 4 days.
After that, I have Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, the story of the bomb, and the race to have it completed. Cillian Murphy playing Oppenheimer, Florence Pugh, Emily Blunt, whole bunch of other people.
I think the person who stole that movie from me was Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. as Strauss.
Fantastic in that film.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm watching it just kind of from the historical perspective, not really counting on like a mystery, and that's eventually revealed that what had happened and why did it happen and why was Oppenheimer being investigated or looked at by the Committee for Americans, against communism or whatever it was. Pardon my ignorance there. But it was a well done movie, something you want to take the kids to.
We have a second viewer, looks like, watching us right now. If you are interested, go ahead and drop us a little message in the comments there so we can know who you are and say hi to you.
And my last one for Christopher Nolan, and this is a just personal favorite of mine. I know there are other movies which, you could look at Dunkirk, you could look at Interstellar and Insomnia and any of the other ones which were really, really well done. But my last favorite one is Inception. The idea of going into dreams and dreams within dreams and, architects constructing them and your subconscious identifying strange minds or people within the dream and how they attack and just it's tough to wrap your mind around. And then if you read it or watch it and watch it again and start thinking about it, and again the practical effects that they use, the whole rotating hallway scene, that they used and that was built in actuality. It's crazy.
So wait a minute, you're saying you like the movie because he stole it from Wes Craven and the Elm Street series?
Yes.
Every movie has a little element of every other movie in it. I feel like it's hard to say, what's original anymore. If I had to do a Chris Nolan Mount Rushmore, which he's not on mine, but I think he would be one that would probably be on mine at some point. I definitely have Dunkirk on mine. That's a given. I think for me, it's Dark Knight, Dunkirk, Oppenheimer, and then my fourth one would be like a toss up between Inception and Interstellar. Definitely. All right, man. That was a good list. I like that a lot. I don't disagree with any of those. Mike, I'm going to do Scorsese first since you and I are sharing Scorsese on our Mount Rushmores. I'll give you my 4 and then you give me your 4 and we'll see how they compare.
All right, go ahead.
So I was telling Mike before the show, before you came on, I had a hard time with some of these trying to decide like what I wanted to do. And so I did a little bit of like personal favorites, but also like what were like the top rated ones on Rotten Tomatoes.
So how long is your list?
So, well, it's 4. I did 4 for everybody, like I said, because it's a Mount Rushmore. I only did 4. Okay. But I had to like really like work on what my 4 were going to be because there's so many good ones I could have chose. But ultimately, I ended up with this.
He wanted me to have his 5 through 8, so
yeah. So I ultimately ended up with my number 1 being my number 1. I guess this would be my George Washington on Mount Rushmore. Would be Goodfellas. Goodfellas is a game changer in the gangster genre. The movie that should have won Best Picture in 1991. one of De Niro, Pesci's, and Liotta's best performances.
Yes.
One of the higher rated movies on his Rotten Tomatoes list, and one of my favorite movies of all time. So Goodfellas is definitely on there. Number 2 on my list is Raging Bull. A movie that was amazing when it first came out. Won De Niro his second Oscar. Should have won Scorsese an Oscar for director. He lost that year to, I believe he lost to Robert Redford for Ordinary People that year. One of 2 actors that he lost Best Director to. And an amazing movie, amazing performance, and one that I feel like has kind of gotten forgotten about over the years. Number 3 on my list is the one that did finally win him his best Oscar for director, and that is The Departed, which also won Best Picture. One of DiCaprio, Damon, and Mark Wahlberg's best performances. It's a great Boston gangster film. Jack Nicholson's a little over the top in it, but I can forgive it because the rest of the movie is amazing. And devastating Martin Sheen death scene in that film. And number 4 on my list, probably the one that really put him on the map. I know some people might say Mean Streets because that was like his first major film. Some people might say Last Temptation of Christ. Some people might say, other things. I said Taxi Driver. Are you talking to me? Because not only is it a great movie, great performance from De Niro, great direction from Scorsese. Scorsese also makes a really good cameo appearance in it. So that is my list. Goodfellas, Raging Bull, The Departed, and Taxi Driver. Mike, how does your list compare to mine for Scorsese?
Very close. I go with Goodfellas as well.
Mm-hmm.
Raging Bull as well.
Mm-hmm.
I also have Taxi Driver.
Okay, and what's your last one then?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Motherfucker, I forgot that one. I don't think I would put it on my Mount Rushmore, though, but I do love Wolf of Wall Street. I actually just watched it recently.
Sure, Margot Robbie? You're not going to put her on a...
Margot Robbie in a full nude scene? Yeah, it's a great movie.
Great movie.
That was a really good performance by, not Josh Gad. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a really, really good performance from him. Actually, like everybody in the film is a really great performance. It's so funny. It's funny in like a holy shit kind of way.
I'm gonna pay stub right now. I'll quit my job and work for you.
Yeah, it's a great scene. I love to see her have dinner together, and he's asking him if he married his cousin, and he gives him this like whole story about how like his cousin was hot, and anybody else fucking her. Oh my god, what's the scene? He's like super high and he's trying to get into the car and he's like hanging from his foot, and it's just like it's so crazy, man. Sad Boy says The Irishman. I like The Irishman. I think it's a good movie. I had to watch it over the span of like 8 days because it's so long. I don't know if I'd put it on my Mount Rushmore, but it's one of his better like later films.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I really like The Wolf of Wall Street's a good pick. I'm not going to argue with just about any Martin Scorsese film. So, Kev, you have one other one that's different from the three of us. So why don't we go with your David Fincher one?
Okay, let's go with my David Fincher one. Okay. First one I have is the one he's probably most recognized for, which is Fight Club.
I was going to
Brad Pitt and Edward Norton. Well, that's the second one he's probably best known for,
Yeah.
If you were to say either one of those two movies, though, you'd probably have a larger turnout for Fight Club than you would Seven.
Yeah, probably.
It was a great movie. I never read the book, though I heard the book is equally as good. The reveal, that takes place is fantastic. The lines said by Helena Bonham Carter just blow my mind. Did you know
what the original line was?
God, I do remember reading this trivia fact.
So her original. So it's after she has sex with him for the first time. She says, the line in the film is, "I haven't been fucked like that since grade school."
Right.
And Helena Bonham Carter didn't even know what that meant. Like grade school is not. They don't have grade school in Britain. It's like elementary school or something like that.
Primary school.
Yeah, primary school. So the original line was, "I want to have your abortion," and the studio said no. So they made Fincher go back and refilm it. He refilmed it with that line, and at that point, it was too late to go back and refilm it, so they left it in.
And just interesting cameos. You had Meatloaf in that. You had Jared Leto.
Awesome
in
in that
you
film.
know?
I love Meatloaf in that movie. He had a name.
His name was Robert Paulson.
Yeah, Jared Leto. That's a great scene where he gets the shit kicked out of him because he's such a fucking asshole. I love watching him get beat up.
Yeah. And just the crazy, like looking at their faces, spitting out teeth, spitting out blood, you know.
And that scene where he beats the shit out of Leto, I love the line in that scene. He goes, "I just wanted to destroy something beautiful." Great scene.
Leads me to the next movie, which we were just briefly touching on, which is Seven. Again, Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey, Gwyneth Paltrow. You know, you don't have a large cast. You don't need a large cast. The whole thing is like the two detectives working out these murders, these 7 deadly sin murders, and how gruesome they are, you know.
Again, I don't know what it says about me that a movie that's this dark and depraved is one that I can watch all the time.
Oh, yeah. What's in the box?
What's in the box? It's definitely a great choice.
Yeah. That's great. And that's a fond memory. I remember watching that and writing a review of it for my school paper in high school. It's like, you must see this.
Fond memory.
It is a fond memory, you know?
Fond memory.
I'm very happy about that.
Debauchery. I'm curious for your next ones because after Seven and Fight Club, I'm not sure where you're going to go with this.
So you must know by now, I'm a huge Aaron Sorkin fan. I do like Nine Inch Nails and Trent Reznor, and Trent Reznor has given so many scores for Fincher's movies, but Aaron Sorkin, David Fincher, Trent Reznor, and this was the story of social media. This was The Social Network. This was, you know, whether or not it's dramatized, how much of it's true, how much of it isn't. I would hope, or I want to think that much of it is true, you know, just based on the writing. But it's the story, the creation of Facebook, and the character of Mark Zuckerberg, and he is quite the character in the movie, you know, how he has people that he trusted, that they got together and you know, created this thing, and how through its popularity and through jealousy and everything else, that kind of like his strongest relationships get torn apart. So Social Network.
I've seen interviews with Zuckerberg in real life. I don't think he's as interesting as the Jesse Eisenberg version.
For Social Network, I would rather see the making of MySpace instead of Facebook.
You are a friend of Tom. You're a devotee.
Yeah, I want to see the life story of Tom.
Exactly.
You can catch a small portion of that if you watch the movie Funny People. You'll be one of only like 5 people who've watched the movie Funny People.
I saw Funny People in the theater.
I think I saw it with you, and it wasn't that great.
It was terrible.
For a bunch of stand-up comics.
Was not very funny.
No. Not funny at all.
No, I love Social Network. I love the scene where Garfield, Andrew Garfield plays his best friend, finds out that he was bought out without his knowledge, and he comes in screaming and hollering and throwing beer, and Justin Timberlake tries to act all tough, and then, you know, Garfield makes like he's going to hit him, and he fucks back. And he's like, "Thanks for showing me who you really are." Early cameo performance from Dakota Johnson.
Yes. Yeah.
As nameless girl who Justin Timberlake sleeps with. And now I'm really curious to see what number 4 is on your list.
So I was torn because the next movie I'm about to say is probably the better made of the two, but I really like this, my other choice. So do I go with which was a better movie in general, which was the movie I enjoyed more?
Pick which one.
The movie in general was Zodiac. You know, about the Zodiac killer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. I believe this was the first team up of Robert Downey Jr. and
Mark Ruffalo.
Mhm. Jake Gyllenhaal.
And it was just the investigation of the Zodiac murders, you know, and it was done really well. It was creepy as hell. What was it? Jake Gyllenhaal gets invited, you know, goes to this guy's house to ask a couple questions, ends up going into his basement or garage or something, and it just made me uncomfortable watching it, you know. That was the one of many people. I mean, I think that was nominated for Best Picture. I think I could be wrong. My personal favorite that I liked is called The Game, which you may not remember. Did you like it?
I love The Game.
Douglas and
I think Zodiac would be on my Mount Rushmore, but I love The Game. That's the one with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. Yeah, it's great.
Sean Penn, yeah. And you know, it's like, wait, is this it? Is it? No, they're fucking with him. No, wait, what happened? Oh my god, you know?
It's such a mindfuck of a movie.
Yeah.
I love The Game, man. Yeah, that's definitely like an underrated one. Like you look at some of his other films and you wouldn't even realize that it's kind of like that is like a Fincher movie, you know, but it's I love The Game. Yeah, totally. Film that time forgot right there, man. The Game. Sad Boy has a message for you here. He said, solid list.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's a solid list too. I would probably put Zodiac on there just for like quality of film. But no, I'm not gonna bitch about The Game either, though, man. It is a solid list. Those are all amazing films. Let's see here. I have one more director that's unique to the other to you guys, so I'm gonna go with my next one, which is John Carpenter. Now, honestly, my John Carpenter Mount Rushmore would be every single goddamn movie he's ever made, except maybe The Ward, his last film. But I had to narrow it down, so I went with the.
We already know that Rowdy Piper's the first one that's going to be on your
No, he's not.
Not really.
No, it's not. I went number one on my list is his highest rated film on Rotten Tomatoes, and that is the original Halloween from 1976. You cannot talk about horror without talking about Halloween. You cannot talk about the modern slasher flick without talking about Halloween. It is the film that made John Carpenter one of the masters of horror, and I'd be remiss not to have it on my list. Even if I like other films more than Halloween, it has to be on the list of Mount Rushmore films.
Yes.
Number two on my list is the other film that solidified him as a master of horror, and that is The Thing with Kurt Russell, which is a testament to practical effects, to suspense, to twist endings, to ambiguous endings, to the first film role for Keith David, who's amazing in the film. The Thing is definitely one that's on the list. Now, there are many other films you can argue should be on this list, like Escape from New York, Prince of Darkness, Mouth of Madness, all these like really good films. But I said for the last two films, I'm picking with my heart. So the last two films on my Mount Rushmore are They Live.
Yep.
And Big Trouble in Little China.
We're going to be on there.
They Live is my favorite film. Big Trouble in Little China is probably the one I've seen the most, oddly enough, even though They Live is my favorite film. But that is definitely my John Carpenter Mount Rushmore. And again, he's a director who's
Bubblegum and Kick-Ass.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
All out of bubblegum.
He is a niche director for some people. He's an acquired taste for some people. Not everybody likes John Carpenter films. I like them because they're like B movies that take themselves very seriously. And he is like the gold standard for like low budget horror, doing it yourself, teaching himself how to play synth organ so he can make his own music for his films to save money.
Much like Clint Eastwood did.
Yes. So that is my list for John Carpenter. Fight
Good
me.
list. Good list.
So let's go back then to Mike and Kev. You both have Tim Burton on your list. So why don't you guys compare your Tim Burtons?
All right, I'll go first.
You want to go back and forth, Mike? You give one, I'll give one. Okay.
Okay, my number one on here is Beetlejuice.
Interesting
Good
choice.
call. I was torn between that and another. Beetlejuice is great. Love the comedy of Michael Keaton. And
Beetlejuice?
No,
what's that? Not Beetlejuice.
The singular beetle?
singular. The original, yes.
The original Beetlejuice.
I was torn between using Beetlejuice on my list and using Edward Scissorhands, which I thought was Beetlejuice is original as well, but so is Edward Scissorhands. Was that the last appearance of Vincent Price in a movie?
I believe so. I think he got it right after the film.
Yeah. In my mind, Edward Scissorhands is Tim Burton's artwork personified, to take a look at what he thought of for Edward and what they created out of Johnny Depp in the scene, just looks great. And the awkwardness of the community, all the Caribbean colored houses and the small, all the gossiping and just the lifestyle that he's just not used to. And he's supposed to be the freak. Over the course of the movie, you kind of figure out the community members are much more freaky,
I can't argue with that because that was my number two.
Mm-hmm.
So you had Beetlejuice as one and Edward Scissorhands as two. And Kev, what did you have number one?
Edward Scissorhands I had as number one. And then my second was Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's
number three.
But Tim Burton did not direct.
No,
Nightmare Before Christmas.
It is 95% Burton. It's essentially his.
I mean, I'm gonna let it go because I think most people would think that it was directed by him because it says Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. I know he didn't direct it, but at a time when stop motion was just not used, CGI, and just the concept of the Halloween icon wanting to be something different, a change for once, and taking over another holiday and screwing it up and realizing he's in over his head. Sad was already there for, I think, both
of us. Yes.
We can move on. Okay. So Mike, you also have this one on your list, correct?
Number 4 is Batman. Yeah.
Batman 89. Yeah. I think that's how I have to refer to it anymore because there are so many Batmans, and I'll call it Batman 89 because it was the year it came out. It was I loved it.
I sometimes call it like the Keaton Batman as well.
The Keaton Batman.
Yeah. Just because
I think it did a great job of reigniting interest in superhero movies that weren't camp.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I love Christopher Reeves as Superman, the Superman movie was campy. It was the camp, Superman, and the 1960s Batman was camp, and this was a divergent away from campiness. This was dark and brooding and solid. I actually flinched when they removed the mask from
comedy in there as well.
No, there were great elements of comedy, but like the scenes where you remove the mask from Joker's
Jerry Hall.
Or when he electrocutes the guy and he's holding the guy's hand and you see his entire face start to turn red. Yes, that was also like cartoonish, I guess, in a way. But me at 10 years old at the time, 89, 10 years old at the time, is like, oh, I don't want to watch that, but the Batmobile was awesome, and the Batwing, and just the Joker.
Where does he get those wonderful toys?
Yeah,
My balloons.
You talking about my balloons?
Where's the Batman? He's at home washing his tights. I think my favorite line is when he's dancing with Kim Basinger on the top of the church, and he goes, "We're like Beauty and the Beast." Of course, if anybody else calls you Beast, I'll rip their heart out.
And the
Solid
last
list,
one, Mike,
man.
was that all of yours, Mike?
Yeah, it was all mine. Yeah.
All right, I still had one more, and I had Big Fish.
All right, yay, Big Fish.
What, you have 5?
No,
I
that
had
was the
4.
sport.
Edward Scissorhands, Nightmare Before Christmas, Batman, and Big Fish.
Oh. So you didn't put Beetlejuice on there at all?
I didn't. No, I was torn between it, but I left it off the list.
Oh, okay.
Now, for me, if I had Burton on mine, I would have had Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, and Big Fish. That would have been my 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a stickler, so I wouldn't have included Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm an asshole. So,
Sure.
so that was it's a solid list from both of you guys. I mean, you can't. It's the nice thing about this is you can't really argue too much about this because these are like such universally loved directors that it's hard to say no to some of these. So,
If I put
let's see.
Frank and Weenie on my list, you guys would have given me shit, though.
No, not at all.
If I put Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I would have put that on the list. I love Pee-wee's Big Adventure, man. I got no problem with that. Especially the scene where he tries to murder the fat guy for stealing his bike.
Oh, sorry.
Now let's see here. So Mike and I both have 2 in common for our last ones, and we all have Spielberg on our list. So I'm going to save Spielberg for last, and Mike and I, let's breeze through Scorsese. And I did Scorsese already, right? And you did that too. We have John Ford on our list.
We have John Ford.
So let's go to John Ford. Mike, what's your first one? And I'll do my first one.
The Searchers.
The Searchers is number 2 on my list.
Searchers by far was, for me, his best movie.
It's a masterpiece. It is definitely a masterpiece. And it's funny, when I looked up the Rotten Tomatoes rankings, it wasn't in the top 5.
Really?
I was
What
shocked.
Academy Award for that?
I was shocked it was not in the top 5. Top 5 was 3 of the ones that I have on here, and How Green Was My Valley, which he won an Oscar for.
Yeah.
And, I don't remember what the 5th one was, but I'm like, it's definitely got to be on. It's on number 2 on mine. My number 1 is Quiet Man.
That's my number 3.
It's number 3. Okay.
That's my number 1.
That's my number 1's Quiet Man. My number 2 is Searchers. Your number 1 is Searchers. Your number 3 is Quiet Man. What's your number 2?
The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
That's number 4 on mine. My number 3, and let's see if it's on your list. Stagecoach.
Nope.
Oh, what's yours?
Fort Apache.
Okay, yeah, I know you you love that movie.
Love that movie. I love that movie.
So I did Quiet Man number 1 because it's just by far my favorite John Wayne, John Ford collaboration. You know, we watch it every year at St. Patty's Day. It's a beautiful film. Searchers is definitely on there because Searchers is a friggin' masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
So is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. I think that's a masterpiece as well. I love the whole when the legend becomes fact, print the legend is such a great line.
Yeah, I love that line.
And I had Stagecoach on there just because it was one of John Wayne's first starring roles and was his first collaboration with John Ford.
Yes, it was.
And it's an amazing early film. Some incredible stunt work in that film from the 30s. So, but I mean, again, John Ford. You can put any of his movies on this list.
There's so much many more, and I mean, he had so many just done with John Wayne. It's not even funny. Like,
the man won 4 Academy Awards for Best Director.
Yes,
it's hard to argue against any of the films that he's directed.
I mean, there's some of the ones I think, did he win it for the Grapes of Wrath too?
Grapes of Wrath wasn't John Ford. I don't believe that was a John Ford.
He did one, yeah. He did,
was it him who directed Grapes of Wrath? Okay. It's not a John Wayne film. That's why I was unfamiliar with that.
I mean, I'm saying Jonathan's Reef was John Ford. Jesus Christ!
That's the thing, the man also directed so many things. Like you forget sometimes what are his films.
Well, Jonathan's Reef's not even a Western. I'm like, what?
Quiet Man's not really a Western either.
No, it's not.
Neither was How Green Was My Valley. So I mean, the man has done some other things. So that's so we did. Let me see here. So Martin Scorsese, I did John Ford. You did John Ford. You also did Scorsese. Both of you did Tim Burton. I had John Carpenter. And Kevin had Christopher Nolan and David Fincher. But all three of us have Steven Spielberg on our list. And man, I have a hard time with this one. I don't know about you guys, but this was tough. This was deep.
Yeah.
I ended up doing a Mount Rushmore of movies pre-1990 and a Mount Rushmore of movies post-1990, and then narrowing it down from there because that's how I look at his career. So I'm going to go first. I'm going to go first. I'm going to read you how my logic worked on this.
Mm-hmm.
My pre-1990 list is Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and E.T.
Mm-hmm.
Not in that particular order. That's just how I thought of them as I was coming up with this.
And then
my post-1990 list is Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, and AI. I struggled on the AI one because I was up in the air with either AI or Catch Me If You Can.
Okay.
And then I narrowed it down from there to my 4. So I'm going to have you guys tell me your first one, and then I'll tell you my first one.
Okay, my first one was Raiders.
Okay.
Mine as well.
Yours is Raiders? Okay.
Yep.
My first one is E.T.
Okay.
Okay.
I think E.T. is a game changer of a film.
Mm-hmm. Especially the when they reissued it and changed all the shotguns to walkie-talkies and took out.
I think he recently reissued the old issue.
Took out ET, put in CGI ET, and
George Lucas it.
I think, unlike George Lucas, he realized he made a mistake and re-released the original on Steelbook. So, so ET was mine, and Raiders is your first one.
Yeah.
What was your second one, Mike?
Jaws.
So is mine.
Jurassic Park.
All right. Not going to fight with you on that, but I love Jurassic Park.
No, a bunch of machine or bunch of animals eating people anyway.
Jaws was my number 2 because it was the
The first
original summer blockbuster. Yeah. And a Oscar nominated film, Oscar nominated directing job for him. A film that was successful despite the struggles they had. So
they had a lot of struggles.
Yeah. Michael, what's your third one?
Close Encounters.
Okay, Kevin, what's your third one?
Schindler's List.
And my third one, Schindler's List. I put this as the best of his post 90 career because it's the first one he won an Oscar for, his first directing Oscar, Best Picture Oscar. So it's like the movie that finally gave him the credit he was longing for as a serious director.
Yeah.
Not going to argue with Close Encounters. It's also another amazing film.
Amazing film. I mean, the
whole final.
I'll never eat mashed potatoes the same way again.
Yeah.
Can't eat mashed potatoes without building my own Devil's Mountain.
Exactly.
And your fourth one, Michael.
Jurassic Park.
Kevin.
Hook. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to cut you off the show.
Actually, I'm wrong. My fourth one is not Jurassic Park.
Ready Player One.
It's Animaniacs.
We were doing TV shows, yeah. I do Animaniacs for Spielberg. I do Mindhunter for David Fincher.
But no, Jurassic Park is my fourth.
My fourth one is The Color Purple, the original with Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Danny Glover.
Wow, interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
My fourth one is Jurassic Park. I had a really hard time narrowing it down. I didn't have Raiders on my Mount Rushmore, and it hurt me not to put it there, but I needed to have. I felt like I needed a balance of the post 90 and pre 90 career, so I picked E.T. and Jaws, which were essentially his two biggest hits of his early career and the ones that put him on the map. And Schindler's List and Jurassic Park because they were the ones that solidified him as the visionary that he is in the 90s. It hurt me not to put Raiders on there because I love Raiders, but if Mount Rushmore had 8 presidents on it, then I would have been able to do everything I wanted to do for Spielberg. So,
No, they're working on getting another one out there. So
Yeah.
just hold tight.
I went on IMDb
mhm.
because they had a list of top 20 Spielberg films or whatever, and my top 4 is what their top 4 was.
Yeah, again, it's subjective. It's what your opinion and all that stuff.
Jurassic Park
Anyway.
changed cinema. Jaws with a
Mhm.
Summer blockbuster.
blockbuster. Yeah. Close Encounters is just the way we think about aliens out there. It's just. And then I love Raiders. I could not put Raiders on this list.
I'm not knocking it. I love Raiders too.
Despite the Big Bang Theory actually making a very good point.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Nothing would have happened if they just would have left it alone.
Sad Boy says, "Thanks, guys. Congrats." And he looked like he signed out. So thank you, Sad Boy.
Sad Boy, we appreciate you stopping in.
Yeah. And Mike, you have any beer trivia history for us this evening?
Enjoying some beer history. The earliest evidence of beer production dates back to 7,000 to 6,000 BCE in ancient China, where archaeological discoveries suggest that fermented beverages were made using a combination of rice, honey, and fruit. These early brews reflect a deep-rooted human instinct to ferment natural ingredients into enjoyable, nourishing drinks using available resources. However, it was in fertile lands of Mesopotamia, particularly in Sumer, what is now modern-day Iraq, that beer began to make a more recognizable and culturally embedded form. The Sumerians are credited with some of the earliest documented brewing traditions, most notably preserved in the hymn of Nikaski, a goddess associated with beer and brewing. Dating to around 1800 BCE, this hymn not only honors the deity, but also serves as a poetic recipe detailing the use of barley and emmerweed and describing the brewing process itself. This early Mesopotamian connection underscores the cultural and spiritual significance of beer in ancient society, making it not just a staple of sustenance, but as a sacred craft deeply woven into the fabric of everyday life. Funny thing is, now you can't even drink alcohol in Iraq. So,
All right.
Oh, how these times are changing.
that's it.
We have a cinema quote of the week. This is definitely.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead. I'll say my
What did you
comment
need to
after.
say?
I was going to say this is definitely a quote I would attribute it to this person.
I never trust a man who doesn't drink. Huh?
It's just like if John Wayne wasn't a man already. I never trust a man who doesn't drink. All right. As we revisit our drinks, Mike, I have a very important question to ask you. I drank slightly more than half of this Old Smoky jar of Mountain Moonshine Java. Am I going to be okay?
Well, you may have a nice little hangover in the morning.
It is 17.5% alcohol by volume, which is 35 proof, and I drank a decent amount.
Remember tomorrow to drink lots of water.
Yeah, right. How are your drinks, gentlemen?
Delicious. I'm just finishing up the American Light now, and the Mexican Sunrise took me back to Tahiti.
He said, you can never go wrong with a summer shanty from Linnenkugel.
Yep. I forgot to mention I was drinking my moonshine out of my Norm Peterson Cheers beer mug. I forgot I had. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for episode 200, our live episode spectacular. Thank you to the people who actually joined us and, were commenting with us and watching and enjoying the show. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Remember, you can email us at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit us on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, TikTok, all the social medias. We have accounts everywhere. You can send us your messages, your comments, your questions, your suggestions, things you like to tell us about the show, and we'll save them up for the next time we do a mailbag episode. And don't forget to stop by the Crossroads for Pickled and Fermented next time around for episode 201. We're going to be doing a little July 4th spectacular next week. It's called America Saves the Day. We're going to talk about movies where America is the hero. That should be that shit episode.
We're doing an episode that salute to all the countries, especially America.
America, fuck yeah. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Thanks everybody for 200 episodes. Hopefully we can talk to you for at least 3 more. We'll see how it goes. Thanks everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Tired.